Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Uh, Assalamu alaikum viewers. Today we are joined by Mr. Awais Anwar. He is a lawyer and an expert in international law. And today we are discussing Kulbhushan Yadav's case and what could possibly happen to him in the near future. Assalamu alaikum Awais, how are you?
Walaikum assalam. I'm very good, thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
It's a pleasure, always.
Coming straight to the question, is Commander Kulbhushan Yadav's case is over?
That's an interesting question, and I think there's a long way to go still in this case. We've seen that it's had several different aspects. So the trial is over. He's been given the death penalty for his actions in Balochistan. India then took him to the International Court of Justice for the right of consular access, which he was not given. Pakistan was declared to be in violation of Pakistan's obligations under the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. And after that, this is the third step in this saga. So what we see now is that Pakistan is giving consular access. So the Indian High Commission officials are being able to meet him, and subsequently a review and reconsideration of his trial is supposed to take place. Pakistan, for this purpose, created a special ordinance which allowed that within 60 days, Yadav, his legal representative, or a representative of the Indian High Commission can file such a review and reconsideration petition within the High Court of jurisdiction, which would be the Islamabad High Court. Now what we see is that issues are arising from the Indian side. They say, first of all, that the ordinance itself is not in compliance with the ICJ verdict. I think that's slightly hard to reconcile because the wording in the verdict is pretty wide. If you look at section 3, I believe, of the ordinance, it's pretty expansive in its meaning. So I don't know how exactly they'll go about arguing that if they are. The other issues that are arising are that the second the consular access meeting that took place very recently, just a few days ago, the Indians have complained that there was a hostile Pakistani intimidating presence there of officers. It was being recorded. All of these issues were coming about. So India is trying to, what we see, object to the process that Pakistan has permitted or has allowed. So we see that there are numerous other steps in this case that remain. And so it isn't over by a long shot. That's what it seems.
Thank you. So, if I ask you frankly, candidly, what is the difference if government of India apply for challenge this verdict in Islamabad High Court and Yadav do it at his own? What is the difference between these both things?
Well, really, it's when it reaches the court, the determination is the same. It's specified in section 3 of the ordinance. And if I actually read that out to you, in deciding a petition filed under section 2, the court shall examine whether any prejudice has been caused to the foreign national in respect of his right of defense, right to evidence, principles of fair trial, due to the denial of consular access according to the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. So any denial that took place that Pakistan did not give consular access initially, how would that impact the trial which convicted and sentenced Kulbhushan Yadav? Would it have made a difference? Would he have gotten, say the Indian High Commission was allowed to arrange for his legal representation? Would they have gotten a better lawyer? Would they have advised him to make certain decisions better? One big issue is the confession upon which his conviction is based. But there's also other evidence there. Would the Indian legal representation that would have taken place, would they have advised him not to confess or some other issue in this regard? These are all issues that are coming about right now, you see. And whether Kulbhushan Yadav himself would have argued this, or whether his legal representative would have brought this in, or whether the Indian High Commission would have arranged legal counsel to be able to argue this in the review and reconsideration, that is something that will be the same determinations.
Wes, if I may, there are voices coming from India that they are saying that the confession of Commander Kulbhushan Yadav is not admissible in any court at this planet Earth because it has no legal worth, because you can pressurize someone and you can get whatever you want from him. So
I don't know how how correct that is. I do believe that this was done before a magistrate, before a legal counsel, and this is the same law that applies in India as it does in Pakistan. A confession before a magistrate. Now, of course, a confession can be recanted, can be taken back at any stage, but we've seen that this throughout these intervening years, that the confession has only gotten stronger as such. Of course, there are issues coming about that, the videos that have been reported of the confession, there are issues with that. And so certainly there can be an argument that can be made there, but that's exactly the type of stuff that you would bring up to court in the High Court under this review and reconsideration argument. The problem is that what I see is that India is playing more of a political game than a legal game. And that they're trying to malign the process that Pakistan has been involved in and try to keep on politicizing that issue. All of these arguments, whether they're valid or not, can be brought up in court, and that's what they should be doing. You see, because if you look at Section 3, this is pretty wide. There's a lot of space that is given to a court to make a determination. Principles of fair trial is a very wide concept. It's not a small limited thing that you can only do it in this. And we've seen Pakistani High Court.
Let me put you in a situation. Suppose you are a legal counsel of Commander Kulbhushan Yadav, and you have to represent him in Islamabad High Court. Do he have a case? Do he has a case?
Absolutely, he can build a case. Everyone within this situation, anyone in such a situation can build a case that because I was denied, access to consular officials and to legal advice like that, I could have had a stronger case. The issue is that we're not looking at whether he's guilty or not. What we're looking at is, would the process of the trial have changed, or would there have been any difference in that? And that ultimately could lead to, yes, he would not have been convicted had consular access been given and stuff. So that is really the determination, and that's something that we see that he can certainly argue these things, but the Pakistani court will have to see whether they merit a nullification of the conviction. And what would happen in such a situation? Say the court agrees that he was not given a fair trial because of lack of consular access. They can ask for the trial to take place again, right? And so there would be a retrial of Kulbhushan Yadav with the legal counsel and representation that the Indian High Commission.
There are for our audience. Could there be any other ground other than this? His trial was conducted in front of a military court. Other than this, could there be any other ground of retrial?
Certainly, if the court determines that because of denial of consular access, his rights were infringed. In that case, yes, the forum isn't as problematic. You can have a fair trial in a military court as well, and that has been determined by the UN Human Rights Council in general comments, as well as by general military justice standards that exist in Pakistan and elsewhere in the world. And in espionage cases, we do see, especially in wartime, that military courts are the proper forum to be able to make a determination whether a person is involved in espionage or not. So, and even the ICJ did not actually touch upon this thing in their decision. They did not say that because it's a military court, it's by itself unfair in any way or doesn't provide the justice. They said that the lack of consular access is what the real issue was, and which needs to be fixed.
Here, interestingly, in ICJ, Indian counterpart has accepted the passport number of Commander Kulbhushan Yadav at Mubarak, as his name is Mubarak. The passport number is original. They have accepted it in ICJ. So, how far you think ICJ can interfere in this case for some in next future?
I don't think the ICJ can interfere. So you've raised two very good points. One is the issue of his passport, which leads to whether he was a spy, a covert operative, and all of those things. And secondly, how far can the ICJ intervene? So let me touch upon how much can the ICJ intervene here. The ICJ is not a body that can intervene in domestic affairs like that. It can only speak about what a state's international obligations were and whether they were violated or not. Here, the question was, was Pakistan under duty to give consular access? They said yes, he was. How we do that domestically, that is up to us. An international organ like the ICJ cannot intervene there. Now, what's going to happen in the next phase? Once a decision is taken, the maximum that can take place after this is that a review could take place, which is a very limited ground, or the ICJ can be applied to give a determination on what the meaning of its judgment was. So when it says effective review and reconsideration by means of its own choice, right? What does this really mean? So the ICJ can expand or define this, in detail, and that's pretty much the extent of what it can do. But it can't go and say that release Kulbhushan Yadav or do this or do that. Those are completely within Pakistan's own domestic powers, because it's an issue of sovereignty that takes place.
And now,
sorry, your second question was on the issue of the passport and the spy. I think what one part of this entire episode by the Indian government was to shift the focus from Yadav's terrorist activities, his sponsoring and support of terrorists in Pakistan, and his being used for covert operations, the funds that he was supplying, the information that he was supplying, the network that he was running, shift the focus from that to something which was far less, but which was beneficial from an Indian perspective, and that was that Pakistan denied consular access. If you look at this isn't a real comparison, but if you would look at it, the violations of international law that an Indian agent has done are far graver than the violation of consular access that takes place. So to some extent, India has been quite successful in shifting the focus of this entire trial to lack of consular access, when the real issue is, almost state sponsoring of terrorism in another country in violation of a variety of UN Security Council resolutions, other instruments of international law. So that, of course, is something that Pakistan needs to refocus on, look at issues like the passport, what was Kulbhushan Yadav doing in Chabahar and in Balochistan, why did he, follow up on all the information that they've obtained from him, and be able to build a case for the international.
Indians are accusing us of not giving them the charge sheet and challan that was presented against Kulbhushan Yadav in the military court. They are saying that we haven't been provided with these two things. So I believe it was provided. It was provided to them every possible available evidence that was that determines he was involved in espionage activities in Balochistan, and he instigated terrorism in Pakistan. So lastly, your comment. Chances of release of Commander Kulbhushan Yadav, is there any?
So again, this is something that
let me ask you. I would like you to comment in two halves. First, legally, second, politically.
Okay. Look, again, my focus will be legally, but I'll try to give an opinion on the political side as well. Legally, I personally do not have enough information to be able to make a determination on that. But looking at the law, this is something that the judges will certainly be looking at, whether the conviction itself was safe, given the situation that he faced, but specifically from the lack of consular access position. Looking at where he was caught, the evidence that has been brought to public, it seems difficult that he would be released simply like that. But again, this is a determination that has to be made by the court, and it's something that will be decided by the review and reconsideration that takes place. From a political angle, this we've seen that in the past, spies between sworn enemies such as the Soviet Union and the US have been exchanged, and that could take place. That could certainly be one factor. However, the types of crimes that Kulbhushan Yadav has been involved in really don't merit a release as such, once they're established and fully shown. That's something that, again, is not a determination that a lawyer can make. This is a determination that your political leadership and military leadership would have to make. So again, it becomes a very difficult choice, but we've seen that in the past, spies have been exchanged, they have been released, even between Pakistan and India.
So what we get in exchange of Kulbhushan?
that would then depend on the readers. What is something of value?
I'm sure they're not gonna evacuate their armies from Kashmir in exchange of Kulbhushan Yadav. So what could?
I also doubt that. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Wes. Thank you very much
Most welcome.
for giving your precious time to and for these amazing answers, because you answer these complicated issues very delicately. And
Thank you very much.
thank you, viewers, for today for joining us. I hope you enjoy the discussion.